Hi, everyone. I'm here with some of the authors, not all of them, for the book #Hack2, Practical Guidance for Dealing with Threats to Your Business and Privacy. And on board today is Kevin Harding, Alan Elliott, Maggie Dillon, and Arnold Webster. We've all written a chapter in #Hack2, and I'm going to ask them each to describe a little bit about what they wrote. So the first one is chapter 6. She's here right now. Maggie Dillon, Selling Cyber. Maggie, can you tell us a little bit about what's going on in your chapter of the book?
The biggest thing that I wanted to convey was strategy, and more from a long-term standpoint, which is difficult to do in cybersecurity because it's the fastest changing industry. So the sections that I did talked about planning a strategic, intentional event, but from a non-practical standpoint, a non-common standpoint, as in everybody else does the same exact thing. I wanted to really disclose why I've been successful and how I branded myself in a different way. So that ties in with obviously selling and marketing. I also talked about the 3 different angles to the event, which would be obviously your candidates, finding new talent. That's kind of what we've talked about in our conversation today about how everyone's having a hard time hiring. And usually your best talent already is currently working, but also incoming potential clients at the same meeting. How can we introduce those 2 people? And then also what kind of contracts are coming up for a new bid? What do I know about all the companies in the area, about each person attending? Are they happy with their job? These things all have to be figured out before anyone walks through the door. So I really tried to go a little bit more in depth on that. I also discussed searching for the right leaders. That sounds super easy and cliche. It's not. Only about 50% should even be in a leadership program, quite frankly. And I'm just talking statistics here from what I've seen over the years. And then I also talked about obviously intuition. Yeah, that's a big saying. Trust your gut versus follow your gut. Those are 2 totally different sayings. And trusting your gut, you can't trust anything in cybersecurity, so we can't go by that saying. We got to follow our gut. And then lastly, I talked about protecting the children, which oddly enough, at the time I wrote this, I did not have a nonprofit for children, and I have now started one. So everything ties in together. Chapter 6 is there. There you go.
Right, and you have a copy of the new book. I think you have an author's proof set, right?
I do, right here.
Oh, man. Mags, you're on top of it. Thank you very much. You have a lot going on in your chapter. Alan, you're up next in chapter 7. Would you tell us about getting Black boys into cybersecurity, please?
Absolutely. So first, I started off by talking about why and how I got into it. Come from where I come from, there's a lot of young black men who, don't particularly understand or know what's out there in relation to cyber, right? Now we use it on a day-to-day basis in our devices and technology, but they don't really understand the intricacies behind it. So I talked about how I fell into it, and then from there, looking at the vacancies that are within the current cybersecurity community. There's tons and tons, and it's only going to grow as people can't get trained up as fast as technology moves, going back to what Maggie was talking about in staffing and recruiting. So I highlight the vacancies and just show the sheer number and why it's such a glaring gap in our national defense. And then the statistics of Black boys, right? Our boys, we focus on things that are, physically driven sports, basketball, football, things of that entertainment, right? Not understanding that there's opportunities within the cybersecurity space where they can actually make more money or have a much better lifestyle than they would as an athlete or entertainer. Then, getting Black boys in cybersecurity, the why behind it, right? It's a group that's typically left out, that's ostracized, right? They talk about, society talks about every other demographic, every other group, except for the Black child, the Black boy. So why is it important that we get them into cybersecurity, right? That genius that's in that brain, we can create some of the most amazing things when we put our mind to it. So why not put them in a position to go from good to great in our defense when it comes to cybersecurity and what's to come? Artificial intelligence, machine learning. It's only a certain type of or a certain group of people are in that room, but once we add these boys into there, I'm telling you, man, the opportunities and everything is endless. So that's what I wrote about in my chapter, and I hope you enjoy it.
I think it's great that we get everybody engaged that we can. Kevin, you're up next. I know you're driving right now, so please don't wreck, but would you tell us about cybersecurity survivability, please?
Sure. My name is Kevin Harding, and I've been a system administrator for probably about 25 to 30 years. Currently serve as system administrator, information system security manager. And in those times, and through my relationship with Albert Whale, he introduced the difference between system administration and cybersecurity. Once I deployed ItSafe into my network or my test lab, it showed me what normal connectivity looks like. And one thing that I've realized, and one thing that I wanted to impress on the reader, was the difference between cyber incident and cyber breach, and then also what it takes to actually triage a cyber incident. There's different types of incidents, different types of breaches, and the data collected in order to achieve cybersecurity survivability is critical when looking at the data that you have to collect up front to be able to answer questions that need to be answered. There will be questions such as, what do I do right now when I'm at my desktop and I see my mouse move and the attacker has already gotten onto my desktop and bypassed all of my security devices? One question that will be asked is, now that my enterprise network has been breached, what will I do with the equipment that has been burnt or no longer secure? So these are the topics that I desired in my chapter. Over.
Thanks, Kevin. A little bit of breaking up there, but I think we got the gist of it all. And I appreciate your contribution to the book as well. Arnold, you're up with working remotely from home. And obviously, we have a lot of people still doing that, and hopefully they continue to do that, but in a more secure manner. Can you bring us up to date with your chapter, please?
Absolutely. And first of all, thanks for the opportunity to convey my experiences with working remotely from home. Of course, COVID-19 has caused a lot of organizations to relook at how they do business. You know, the job continues. So, but one thing about working remotely, and this is my inspiration, you know, long as I like log in and send an email or text letting my supervisors know I'm alive and well. And there's a reason behind that also, because we actually had someone pass away and we didn't get alerted in a timely manner. However, once I send that email or a text, I can pretty much be more complacent, be more comfortable because I'm at home, right? What better place to be in control is when you're at home. Unfortunately, when you're at home, you tend to be, let your guards down a little bit. And if you don't get cybersecurity in your DNA to, like, for example, have an understanding, every time I use technology, I got to be aware that there are risks involved with every time I'm using technology. Being at home is no different. So we got to understand that just because you're in control of your kingdom and your home, there's still a lot of bad actors out there, and if you do let your guard down, depending on that bad actor, they can not only get into your system, but since your system is connected to your organization's backbone, are you inadvertently, putting in some malicious software to transfer over, so it gives you a chance to realize, okay, am I really practicing cybersecurity awareness? Do I have it in my DNA? Am I going to be a risk, an internal threat so to speak. So there's different types of risks associated with how well you are letting your guard down. So if you do let your guard down and you get hacked, what are you going to do next? Do you suck it up and say, well, no one's going to find out because I'm in my home, I got control over my infrastructure? Or did that threat actually transverse to something bigger and more valuable? So that was my motivation, primarily remotely working from home. Did we let our guard down? And what can you do to recover from letting your guard down? Do we have a process in place to do incident response? I know I've been involved with several, compliance issues, and it didn't end well for certain people, depending on the level of data classification they were managing. So in a nutshell, just because you're in control of your home, so to speak, you're not in control of those various cybersecurity bad actors out there. So that's my motivation. And I appreciate, once again, the opportunity. I'll pass it on.
Thanks, Arnold. And I want to emphasize that nobody can see the attacks in the network. Without having the right tools to do this, it's all invisible, especially the packets going back and forth to do regular operations on Facebook or Google or any other website. You don't see the underlying technology. And that's been kept secret from us for quite a while, because most people don't want to know that information. But finding those bad actors inside the network and finding out if you've been hacked or #hacked too, that's important. Keeping us all safe and secure. And I appreciate all the authors that help contribute to #hacked2. This is just a snippet. There's going to be more interviews coming up. Our friend Elliott has other podcasters bringing people to the table. And I might have a time to bring in Tom Albert to see about his chapter, who, by the way, just came back from a trip and said he's now certified to be a sniper. 10 out of 11 metal targets hit. So here we go. We're multi-talented in cyber and security. #hacked2. Practical guidance for protecting your business data. Thanks, everyone.